Akshay,
Yes, sir.
why you want to join CAPF?
Sir, during my school days, I have participated in National Cadet Corps. During my college days, I also participated in Senior Division of National Cadet Corps. During my National Cadet Corps days, I went to some camps, and during those camps, I came across the regimental way of life in the uniform force and the regiment of discipline, the fitness, and the work ethic of the uniform force. That's why my natural inclination is towards uniform force. And so, sir, I am trying to go into the uniform force right from my 12th, sir.
Okay. So, have you given NDA's exam?
Yes, sir.
You have not mentioned here in your tab?
No, sir, I have not mentioned.
Okay. Right. Akshay, tell me three such places where CAPFs are deployed in your state.
Sir, the first place is the Pune airport itself, from where I came. The CISF is deployed there.
Okay.
And sir, another important place is the thermal power station near my city. There also CISF is deployed.
Right.
And third thing, sir, is the Shirdi temple, Sai Baba temple, which is one of the important pilgrimage sites. There also CIPF is deployed.
Okay. So, you are more inclined towards CISF as it is seen with your tab.
Yes, sir.
You have given first preference to CISF.
Yes, sir.
What about BSF? Why you have not liking BSF?
No, sir, nothing like that. It's just a minor difference of perceptions. And as there are preferences, so BSF is my fifth preference, not my last preference. I guess, or I would have liked that there are no preferences, because I know these are just for the sake of preferences, and I will be asked to serve in any of the CAPFs, and I will be equally happy and enthusiastic to serve in any of the forces.
Okay. What are your degree subjects, BTech subjects?
Sir, I have done my degree in BTech Agricultural Engineering. So the basic is agricultural engineering, and in agricultural engineering the subjects are irrigation and drainage engineering, agricultural process engineering, farm machinery and power. These three important subjects.
Okay.
And watershed development.
What places in Maharashtra are basically drought prone areas?
Sir, basically the two important geographical divisions of Maharashtra according to rainfall are Konkan, which is to the west side of Sahyadris, and to the east side of Sahyadris there are drought prone regions, such as my region, which comes under the rain shadow area of Sahyadri. So it is drought prone, and also the Vidarbha area is drought prone. These two are more important drought prone regions.
Okay. So, as an agricultural engineer, can you suggest some of the measures how we can tackle the drought conditions in those regions and how we flourish agriculture there?
Yes, sir. Sir, basically drought is resulting from excessive use of rainwater, and also the groundwater level which is there also contributes directly to the agriculture. So first thing, we should focus on the crop diversification, because basically in Maharashtra and Vidarbha area sugarcane is cultivated on a large amount, and sugarcane is a very water intensive crop. So that's why the groundwater level is depleting. So we have to diversify the crops from sugarcane to other crops like pulses and other cereals like wheat, paddy, and also at the same time we can do some modification in the sugarcane cultivation itself, such as we can use the drip irrigation for the sugarcane cultivation. We can increase the spacing of the sugarcane. By increasing spacing, we can take the row crops, mixed crops in the sugarcane, so that in the same amount of water we can cultivate two crops. These two are important measures regarding this crop diversification. And also another measure is water harvesting. So to increase the groundwater level, sir, one of the important ideal examples is my village itself. So in my village earlier there were many droughts. It was drought prone as it is in the water shadow region of Sahyadri. But from 1971, Padma Bhushan Dr. Anna Saheb Hazare, the leader of my village and well-known social reformer, came to my village, and then he did many watershed development drives in my village. So according to that, many structures such as bunds, nala bunds, plugs were constructed. The water was obstructed, which led to increase in the groundwater level. So these projects can be replicated in entire Maharashtra at the village level. and also the NGOs such as Amir Khan's Pani Foundation is working in the Maharashtra in the watershed development. So more government funds to these NGOs can help.
Right, Akshay.
Yes.
Akshay, I am too influenced by the ideologies of Anna Hazare sir. Right? How can we disseminate the ideologies of Anna Hazare in other parts of the country where it is required?
Yes, sir. Sir, basically the ideology of Anna Hazare is first the development of village. Honorable Mahatma Gandhi's concept of village republic was followed by Anna Hazare. So first develop your village and then you can look towards the development of your country. So to disseminate the project in Ralegan Siddhi, the important idea is that people of the village should not be mere passive beneficiaries of the government projects, but they should be active participants in the government project. So this idea can be replicated in the entire country. Also the watershed development structures which are developed in the Ralegan Siddhi, they are very easily replicable and they do not require that much of money, because most of the works in my village are carried out by village people through Shramadhan itself. So it is also a very portable project which can be disseminated. And one of the important point behind the progress of Ralegan Siddhi is the devoted leadership of Shri Anna Hazare. So through our education system, we should focus on the development of such strong leaders who can lead the village community and thereby the country towards development, towards progress.
Right. So, Akshay,
Yes, sir.
tell me history of Ahmednagar.
Yes. Sir, Ahmednagar was constructed as such as a city from 1442 in the reign of Ahmad Nizam Shah. In Bhingar there is one fort called Ahmednagar Fort. This fort was constructed in 1442, and from construction of that fort the entire city was there around that fort. And after that, one important historical thing in the Ahmednagar is that during 1942's Quit India movement, the Congress Working Committee leaders, most of them were housed as a prisoners in Ahmednagar Fort itself. And in 1943, our first Prime Minister, Honorable Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, he has written the book, famous book, Discovery of India, in that Ahmednagar Fort. So these are few historical importance of Ahmednagar.
Tell something about Jyotiba Phule.
Yes. Sir, Mahatma Jyotiba Phule is a very well-known social reformer. He was based in Pune itself, but his work is distributed in Pune and entire country. So his basic work is in women education. In 1852, in the Bhidewada of Pune, with the help of his wife, Srimati Savitribai Phule, with the help of her, he has developed the first woman school. And also in 1973, he has established the Satyashodhak Samaj. The basic ideology of Satyashodhak Samaj was the emancipation of the Dalits and other downtrodden people and giving them the equal status. So humanity was at the focus of this Satyashodhak Samaj, and rational thinking was at the focus, and they condemned idolatry and other rituals which are not necessary and which are obstructing the human development. So these two are main focus areas of work of Shri Mahatma Jyotiba Phule.
What are four major problems in Maharashtra?
Sir, the first problem is agricultural distress. The second problem is terrorism. The third problem is Naxalism in the eastern part of Maharashtra. And the last problem is the communal riots.
How you can prevent it?
Sir, as the first problem comes, agrarian distress. So two basic important things behind the agrarian distress are less productivity of the agriculture, and second thing is the income which farmers are getting from that production. So we have to put forth the strategy which can address these both things. So for addressing the first thing, we have to give proper irrigation. We can use the micro irrigation methods. Maharashtra is drought prone, so water is limited. We can use micro irrigation method. Also, sir, the supply chain which is there and the processing infrastructure which is there is weak. So it is hampering the income of farmers. So we have to build this proper infrastructure. And then the third thing is prices to the farmers' production. Also, we have to develop the entrepreneurial spirit in farmers, so that just becoming the producers of raw materials, they will be the processors, they will be the agricultural entrepreneurs, so that we can increase their income. This is considering agriculture. The second thing is terrorism. So after the attack of 26/11 in Mumbai, the terrorism in Maharashtra is at the focus. Some few other attacks, such as attacks in Pune, German bakery, Malegaon bomb spot, these 2-3 things are there. So after 26/11 attack, some measures were taken at the government level, such as development of anti-terrorist squad by the Mumbai police, development of Force 1 commando force by the Mumbai police. At the same time, there is increase in the number of regional headquarters of national security guards. These 2-3 things regarding terrorism are there. Yes, sir. In 2008, National Investigation Agency Act came, and according to that, NIA is also established. These 2-3 things are regarding terrorism, and also these are the solutions at the government level, and at the people level we have to make people aware, and we have to regulate the social media, because most of the ideologies are perpetrated through social media these days. So this is considering terrorism. Then third problem I told, Naxalism. So Naxalism is on wane, but it is not completely out. In Maharashtra in 2014 there were 9 districts which were Naxal prone, but now Bhandara, Gondia and Gadchiroli, these 3 districts only are Naxal prone. So it is on wane due to the efforts of Maharashtra police and central armed police forces. But the problem of urban Naxals which is there is on rise, because some of the intellectual people in the city, they are not only empathizing with these extremists, left-wing extremists, but they are also actively promoting the fall of constitutionally raised government. So to prevent that Naxalism, we have to act on 2 fronts. First front is developmental front, another front is security front. So through development, we have to develop them. We have to breach the cracks which are there in the social development, so that we can give a counter narrative to the ideology of Naxalist. And at the security front, coordination between the state police and central police, active coordination, the use of local people, the use of local intelligence, establishing trust between the local people. These 2-3 are important things. Also, sir, few jungle forces, the Commando Battalion for Resolute Action in Central Reserve Police Force, the Greyhounds of Andhra Pradesh State Police. These 2-3 are important forces which are specifically designed to counter the Naxal threat in the jungles. So these 3 things at the security level should be taken care of.
Right, Akshay.
Yes.
Can you tell me the role of philanthropists during the pandemic?
Yes, sir. Sir, pandemic is one of thing. None of us was expecting that pandemic. So at government level, at individual level, we are not ready, or we were not prepared to face it. And also, the last pandemic which came was in 1973, the smallpox pandemic. So our generation is not aware about the challenges of pandemic. So as a philanthropist, they can support the efforts of government and local government, state government. So what they can do, sir, in my area, few NGOs are running the food. They are preparing the food and distributing to different communities. They are spreading the awareness in the rural people, in the village people, so that they will be aware about the pandemic. These 2-3 things can be done as philanthropists. And
what are the conflict that is running around the concept of PM cares?
yes, sir. Sir, the PM Care is the fund which is raised by the central government, and central government was urging all the philanthropists in the country who want to donate the PM Care fund. At the same time, state governments were urging that you contribute to the state fund. So there is thing, and also the PM Care fund is not under the consolidated fund of India. So there is not proper auditing of PM Care fund. This is one allegation put behind this PM Care Fund. So the opposition parties and they are demanding that there should be proper auditing.
Okay. What are the changes that you want will actually transform the legal system in India? Do recommend me, do suggest me several changes.
Sir, first thing, the pendency of cases is one important problem of our judiciary, and also the vacancies. The judges, required amount of judges are not there. So what we can suggest in the case of judiciary is that to reduce the pendency of cases, some fast track courts can be there to carry forward the cases of terrorism and other important cases. And also all India judicial system, the reform which was suggested, should also be taken care of so that the vacancies of the judiciary can be fulfilled. This is another thing. And also, sir, the one important problem behind the pendency of cases is public interest litigation. In 90s, the public interest litigation were permitted in any of the subject without the clause of suo motu. So after that, there was a flood of public interest litigation. So to prevent that, we have to make people aware about this thing.
Okay, Akshay. Loan waiving to the farmers. Is it a good step or a political tool, according to you?
Sir, if it is implemented in a proper way, then it is a good step. For example, for the loan waivers, there should be conditional loan waivers depending upon the area of the field of that farmer and also depending upon what type of crops they are taking in. So this important thing is there. And also in the case of loan waivers should not be the alone master key for the solution of farmer distress. Along with the loan waivers, we have to follow it with the help of the infrastructural development, as I have earlier said, the development of the supply chain and providing credit to the farmers easy and
Fine, got it.
yes.
One last question from my end.
Yes.
Do you think democratic decentralization is really decentralized?
Yes, sir. Sir, in my opinion, it is not really decentralized because the democratic decentralization to me implies the local self-governments. But the local self-government, even if they have the constitutional status, they are not strengthened at that level because they don't have the sources of income so that they can plan their plan, they can plan and then implement their plan. There is no this thing there. The entire control is even in the hand of district administration. So in my opinion, it is not centralized.
Okay, Akshay,
Yes, sir.
your one of the hobbies is writing poems and prose.
Yes.
Okay. How do you convince me that writing poems basically enhance your personality to being an armed person?
Yes, sir. So basically, if you have to write the poem, you have to be a sympathetic person. You have to sympathize with the person who is suffering, or you have to sympathize with the surrounding situation. You have to imbibe that situation and you have to express your thoughts on that situation. Also, when it comes to poem, you have to be a critical thinker. You have to analyze the situation, you have to understand what are the problems, what can be the solution, and in that way you write poems. So as a poet, you are more open-minded person, you are more sympathetic to things, and in forces, as a leader, I must be looking behind my troops. So if my emotional quotient is high, if I am more empathetic towards them, then I can in a better way understand the problems which they are facing. I can sympathize with them and can give them proper solution. Also, sir, in force, as they are away from their home, so there is a stress situation. So they have to deal with that stress also. So for me, as a force person, my hobby of a poet, which is a very portable hobby, I can carry it anywhere. So this hobby can give me self-motivation to deal with that stress, and if I am stress free, then I can also keep my troops stress free and take good care of them.
Okay, one last question from my end. I think you are aware of the problem of Naxalism in certain districts of Maharashtra.
Yes, sir.
In the capacity of an assistant commandant, what do you want to do to eliminate such kind of problem?
Sir, I would like to quote, with your permission, an example of Adilabad district model.
Right.
In 2001 to 2004 in Adilabad district, there is a model called Police Mikosam, that is police for you in that local language. So what was done in that language, that police tried to win the trust, winning hearts and mind theory was used there. Police tried to win the trust of the local people. So the Naxalites which have surrendered to police understood few things from them, like very small things, like Naxals when go to the houses of people, they remove their chappals, they greet them in their language like Ram Ram and other things. So these things build trust. So police try to follow that thing, and that thing earned benefits because in 2004 near about 200 villages in that area were free of Naxals, and 26 Naxals have surrendered in that period of 2 to 3 years. So as assistant commandant, when I go to the field, I would try to win the trust of the people to different measures. Also, sir, I am an agricultural engineer, and most of the people in India have agriculture as their profession. So I can understand their problems and I can suggest few good ideas. So through that also I can win their trust, and through winning their trust, through developing good intelligence network in that area, I can handle this problem of Naxalism at a proper level.
Okay, Sheikh, that's it for today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.